Well, I wonder, so as things have evolved, you're doing more YouTube and influencing lots of people. I get lots of great feedback from my patients who watch your YouTube. Thank you for that. And now I want to kind of get up to speed with what is happening with YouTube. And I watched Dr. Eric Berg talk about how, woe is me. They're putting me down on the list and all this. And have you experienced that? Or wasn't YouTube supposed to be censor free? Let the people decide.
Yeah, I haven't noticed any kind of throttling or shadow banning or censorship whatsoever on YouTube yet. I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but I haven't noticed any of that at all. I have seen some videos of influencers claiming that to be the case. Also, keep in mind that one of the main drivers for making YouTube videos is to get as many clicks as you can. And you can imagine if I made a video with a big banner that says censored over it, a lot of people would click on that just to see what I was talking about. And it may be true in Dr. Berg's case. I don't know his back end numbers, so I can't speak to that. But all I can speak to is I have not noticed any shadow banning or throttling at all, and Nisha hasn't noticed any. And other people I've talked to in the keto space, in the carnivore space, they haven't noticed any of that either. But I'm always I'm optimist, but I'm also a rationalist. And so I've got all of my videos backed up on Rumble, also backed up on Odyssey, which is another video platform. And every time I post a video to YouTube, it also posts to Rumble and to Odyssey, just in case, because although I haven't noticed any throttling or shadow banning, I'm not saying it's never going to happen. I'm not saying it hasn't happened to other people, but I think that YouTube has bigger fish to fry than a way of eating that people are talking about without, trying. Now, if you're selling a whole lot of supplements and you're making false claims about the supplements, then there's an argument. Yeah, okay, they're probably going to crack down on that. And so, as you may know, I don't have a line of supplements. I don't sell supplements. I don't recommend supplements for the vast majority of people. And so I try to keep my message very clear, very simple, and very true to the message that if you eat the right foods that are ancestrally appropriate, nutrient dense, low in carbohydrates, and avoid all frankenfood, all highly processed grains and sugars and vegetable seed oils, then your health is going to improve, at least to some degree. Now, some of us may need to tighten that up even more. So on the Venn diagram, here's low carb, here's keto, here's ketovore, and here's carnivore. These circles are concentric. They're all in the same group. Ancestrally appropriate, nutrient dense, low in carbohydrates. I think that's the three big drivers. And then I have noticed from the thousands and thousands of people who have given me feedback that the more red meat they include in their low carb, keto, ketovore, carnivore diet, the better they seem to do on average. And so I think that ruminant meat plays an especially large part in this. I don't know currently all the details about that. I don't know if it's because there's some magical zoonutrient in ruminant meat that we haven't discovered yet that's magically healing these people. But I suspect that it's just as you eliminate things, you're focusing on just nutrient density, a beautiful fatty acid profile, a beautiful amino acid profile, lots of vitamins and minerals, and you're not getting anything else that may be causing inflammation or slowing down your progress. I think that's probably what's going on. But we may discover some magical zoonutrient that's in ruminant meat that we didn't know about in the future. That's possible.
Well, I've met some interesting doctors through the years. Dr. Atkins was one, but there was another line of thinking that eating is a stress, right? So yeah, you're actually taking something through your intestinal membranes, and it's like there's a battle going on. Absolutely. With if there's bacteria coming in, and you're fighting it, and all this, so that
every time you put a bite of food in your mouth, it initiates an immune response. That's absolutely true. And a lot of people, and you can just tell some of the gurus out there on the internet, they do not understand that concept at all. I'm talking about even a bite of the most ancestrally appropriate, non-GMO, panda massage, grass-finished ribeye. You still have an immune response to that. Your immune system, from the time it passes your lips, is constantly monitoring that the entire way, because we're just tubes. If you think about the way our body's designed, we're a hollow tube. And so the inside of us is also technically the outside. And so if we have an immune system on the outside, we actually, we have no stratum corneum on the inside, right? We have only epithelial cells. And so the immune system has to be hyper vigilant when something goes inside of but a lot of people don't realize that. And so all food, every food you eat is going to be inflammatory to some degree.
Yeah.
Without exception.
You want some inflammation. I mean, there was a meeting. There was a doctor came in and swooped and pooped, we say, because he gave a talk and then left, letting the rest of us having to pick up the pieces. But he basically said eating causes inflammation, so I don't eat. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
So you take it to the absurd at a degree, you'll die. I mean, but I think if you eat closer to the ancestral way of eating, where and eating other animals actually makes sense to me biologically, and that it's going to be less stressful to digest. I mean, that's just, I watched a video recently with a young man who had an ileostomy because of ulcerative colitis. He didn't know about the carnivore or keto diet before he had the colectomy. He says when he eats meat, he never sees meat come out his ileostomy. I mean, this is when your bowel movement comes out in a bag and he can see it. I mean, it's a clear bag. So, but when he's eating any kind of vegetable matter, especially corn and that corn on the cob, maybe even those turnip greens, they're going to come out undigested.
Absolutely.
When you really look at our anatomy internally, I like that idea of a tube, because really there is the external world even inside us. We have the internal anatomy, the GI tract of carnivores.
Yes.
Not herbivores.
Yes.
Really not you could argue omnivore, but
that really confuses a lot of our plant-based brothers and sisters, our vegan brothers and sisters, because we did evolve from herbivores and frugivores. 100% absolutely true. But hippopotamuses and those are the least distant cousins. There is no land animal that is more closely related to a hippo than a whale. But they do not have the same digestive. So the point is, even though we evolved, our least distant cousins are the chimp and the bonobo. No doubt about that. But we have evolved for millions of years, about 7 million years since that split took place. We've changed since then, especially in the gastrointestinal system.
I remember being at a meeting with, it was a great meeting because Jeff Volek and Steve Finney were there, and it was a small meeting, and I get this question in the audience offline. Someone's just chatting with me, and he says, well, but we should eat like gorillas. And I didn't know much 15 years ago. Right. So I go back to Steve Finney, who's, my teachers, our teacher, really one of the main pioneers of this way of eating. He looks at me and goes, well, a lot can happen in a few million years. You don't have the internal on that. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how to tactfully do a video, just debunk. There's this kind of guerrilla idea among the vegans and veggies that we should eat like, no, we don't have the internal anatomy. But again, we don't get much training in medicine, and we get drug training and
when a medical school is accepting people with a bachelor's degree in music theory, that I think that really does a disservice to medicine. And I love music, that's great, but I think there really should be a hefty load of pre-medical classes that you should have to really do well in before you can even be considered for medical school. And in many cases, also a nurse practitioner school. There's a school here, a very prestigious school in Nashville, that you literally can have a bachelor's degree in anything. It matters not what it was. You can be a nurse practitioner after 1 year of training. It's like, what? Wait, what? And that's
in my experience, these health provider, I don't like the word provider. I mean, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, but they're being groomed to really just follow guidelines.
Exactly. They're being groomed to follow guidelines and to prescribe medications. And so in that scenario, you don't care if they know anything about anthropology or mammalian biology. It's irrelevant. All they need to know is what's the algorithm for when you prescribe this versus that. That's really all they need to know in order to be successful in that model. And obviously that model is failing us daily and obviously, and more regular people are seeing that. I think a lot of doctors and other healthcare providers are not seeing that it's the model, it's the paradigm that's failing. The reason you're burnt out is not because you hate your patients. It's not because, you're a bad doctor. It's not because of any of those other things. It's because the model that you're practicing under. And sometimes it's very hard for people to see the paradigm that they're living their life based on. The old joke about one fish says to the other fish, "How's the water today?" And the other fish says, "What's water? What are you talking about? What's that?" Most doctors don't realize that they're practicing under a paradigm of medicine that was solidified decades ago. There's a lot of history about this. They call the germ theory. And the germ theory works great when you apply it to bacteria. Right? That's the reason that people don't just die when they cut their finger anymore, or when they get appendicitis, or when they have a perforated whatever. You don't die of that anymore because the germ theory is very applicable and very useful. But what we tried to do was apply the germ theory to all practices of medicine. So the way the germ theory is currently applied to diabetes is, you've got diabetes. Here's a GLP-1, medication. Here's a glimepiride, here's glyburide, here's this, here's that, here's a pill for that. Instead of going, well, maybe it's the diet and what the diet is doing to the body. And so for so many doctors, that doesn't fit in their paradigm. And it sounds woo-woo, it sounds crazy, it sounds, depending on the doctor, it could range from being tree hugger and crunchy to being weird and conservative. Like it literally depends on the doctor as to how they interpret that, when they hear that the food you eat could matter. And more, doctor, they're saying, oh no, obesity and type 2 diabetes are purely genetic conditions. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no bad food. You can eat any food you want. You just have to take these pharmaceuticals. And that's just what it is, because it's genetic. It's not your fault. It's not the food's fault. It's just genetic. And that's kind of the culmination of the germ theory. There's literally, you have nothing you can do about this. You just have to take the pharmaceutical.
Yeah, and as a lack of awareness that changing the food could do such good, it's so unbelievable. Nobody believes it. But I can go to a gas station and I can't get junk gas. I can't get bad gas. But I go inside, I get junk food for the human. So we treat our cars better than the people. But switching gears just a little bit, are you following some of the other big internet influencers and how there's this kind of fluttering in the winds? I think of a sail going back and forth, how some people are pulling away or getting beyond keto and carnivore. And what are your thoughts about these folks?
Yeah, again, back to the way YouTube works, you've got to have a thumbnail and a title that are compelling, that make you go, wait, what? And so then you'll click on that, right? And then when the viewer clicks on that, then they're going to watch at least enough of that video to figure out what the hell's going on in that video. And if you watch that video for 30 seconds, that's considered a view. And so there are so many influencers out there they're just in it for the clicks and the views. When keto was very popular, and there is a fad component to the keto diet. If you look at Google searches for keto or keto diet, the searches got ginormous, and they peaked about 2018, and they've been slowly going down. It's not as popular as it was. And so that, for a lot of people, converting from keto to carnivore wasn't the next step in the shift of their paradigm or their healing journey, or there's more science. Oh, okay, let me look into this. Oh, okay, primate anatomy and physiology. Oh, okay, because that's kind of how my transition has been. It's about, oh, carnivore's hot now and keto's not as hot anymore. So therefore I quit keto. That's a video. I've started carnivore. That's a video. And then, right. And so there'll be something beyond that. And we've seen early carnivore influencers now, they've included fruit and honey because, what the Hansa do or something in Africa, this hunter-gatherer society that
Right.
literally have been taken off of their ancestral hunting grounds and have been put on the scrubbiest, most worthless ground, because that's what happens in every agricultural society, is the hunter-gatherer remnants that are left over, just like the Native American in America. When we moved them out to the reservations, did we give them prime agricultural real estate? No, that's not what they got. And so if you said, oh, the Native American diet today, you can look at that and you can see it has literally nothing to do with what Native Americans would have eaten 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago. And so a lot of influencers, they go and stay with some tribe in Africa. They stay in the nice little hut for Westerners for a couple of days. And then they come home and they've made this groundbreaking discovery that the Hadza, they eat fruit and honey, and therefore we should eat fruit and honey. And so it's just this ongoing thing. And that's why I'm trying to tell people, look, you get useless noise from your doctor when it comes to nutrition advice. Very, very often. It's just worthless noise. But also, there are many influencers who are also putting out just as much useless noise. If your goal is to improve your health and to improve the health of your family, there's a set of principles that go to making up a proper human diet for you. The degree to which you adhere to and apply those principles, your health's going to improve. And the degree to which you ignore them and don't apply them, your health is going to not improve or maybe even suffer. And I think you and me and everybody else in this space, we're kind of hammering out these principles of what a proper human diet is. I don't think we're discovering a proper human diet. I think we're rediscovering lost knowledge that 10,000 years ago, it would have not even have been a discussion of what you should eat and what you should avoid. How much should you eat? How much water should I drink? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I eat red berries or green berries? All that stuff has been sorted through the trial and error of millions of years of this scientific experiment called evolution. And then when the human species, when we developed culture through language and being able to recount our story, like that's literally what makes us the apex predator, the apex species on this planet, is being able to share our story. So when I say at the end of my YouTube video, share your story, I am literally following in the footsteps of not just you and not just Atkins, right? And not just Wilhelmsen. I'm following in the tradition of every human since the first human stood up on their hind legs and said, because that's what we do. We learn something through personal experience, and then we share that with everybody else in the tribe. Don't eat the green berries. They'll give you the shits, or whatever it is that you've learned personally. You pass that on. And so through the eons of trial and error, humans knew what to eat, just like the deer in the wild. They know what to eat. They don't need a book written by a doctor to know what to eat and what to avoid. They just know. My sheep in the pasture, they know what to eat and what not to eat. Don't eat too much of this. You can have some, but not too much. They just know. I think it's possible for the human species, the human animal, to know you should eat mainly this. Maybe a little of this, not too much. Maybe a little of this, not too much. It depends on your family. It depends on your DNA. It depends on maybe your gut microbiome. But within reason, here are the principles of a proper human diet. I think all of us together are kind of rehashing those out. And this time, hopefully, they won't be forgotten when the next big fad, which is what the pharmaceutical era, that was kind of a tidal wave tsunami fad of, you can fix everything with a pill. People want to call keto and carnivore fads. That was the ultimate fad. That makes the keto and carnivore fad look like kindergarten students versus a triple PhD board certified fad. That's what the pharmaceutical fad was in the vast majority of instances.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.